I like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This movie's called Family.
Taken by the Yakuza at a young age, Kenji swears allegiance to his old school boss, pledging to adhere to the family code amid ever-changing times. The Japanese drama that just came out is 2 hours and 15 minutes long.
This might be the greatest Yakuza story ever told.
Spoiler alert, let's get it.
So we start off with somebody floating. Is that a premonition of things to come? Who knows? So here we have Police Chief G there at his funeral. Whose funeral? Kenji's father's funeral. That's Kenji right there. He keeps nagging Kenji about telling him not to be a juvenile delinquent. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got a father no more, all this other stuff. But Kenji don't give a fuck about what G's talking about. Anyway, his boys is waiting on him to come back out riding bikes. And afterwards, he rides out. He's like, fuck this shit, I'm gone. He ends up going to this one guy, kind of get some weed or some drugs or something. The guy said he ain't serving no new customers, but he drops his father's name and he's like, okay, what's good? But as soon as he shows him his stash, he ends up beating the shit out of him. He ends up taking his shit. They get the money, it's all good. 10,000 yen. One of his boys is holding up the drugs he got, and he tosses that shit in the river. Letting you know right to jump, he don't want to do nothing involving drugs, selling drugs, buying drugs, none of that shit. Then they go to their homegirl spot to get some food. They get it cracking in there. And then comes Boss Shigumi. Now at this point, nobody knows he's part of the Yakuza clan. Kenji stares at him for a minute like he knows niggas. Then these other guys come in the house and cause a ruckus. Then all of a sudden, one of them pull out a gun. The boss's life is on the line. But then Kenji bashes the dude over the head with a fucking steel pipe. Whether he meant to or not, intentionally saving the boss's life. Then he goes back home in his unkept house, hit the smoke and falls asleep. Next day, the boss' right-hand man, Nakamura, wakes him up. It takes him over to the clubhouse. The boss likes his style and he wants to initiate him into the gang. Kenji's like, man, I ain't do that shit for you. I just want some peace and quiet. But the boss ends up giving him a card anyway. Later on, he gets a call from his boys and they tell him to run because the other mafia is after him. But he ends up getting fucked up and they caught his boys too. Now, he's part of a rival mafia gang. Remember this face. And that's their boss's leader, Shinzo. And they did a number of Kenji good. They fucked him up. So apparently the drugs he took and threw into the river, that was their guys. So now they're basically about to put him on a boat and sell their organs. But when they checked him for weapons, they found the boss's calling card in Kenji's pocket. And because they already signed a peace treaty with him before, they don't want no problems. So they let Kenji and his boys go. Realizing Shikimura's calling card was the only thing that saved Kenji's life, Kenji gives in and joins the Yakuza. And at a ceremony, he's now an official member. Now I want you to keep in mind, everything I just told you took place in 1999. Now it's 2005, he's got straight black hair. Dressing like a boss now, second in command, he running shit. He meets up with former second in command Nakamura to celebrate his birthday and all that. He's still feeling some type of way that his boss thinks he's second fiddle to Kenji, but still, it's no beef, it's just healthy competition. At the police station, the Yakuza's always had the police in their pocket, but now all of a sudden they're trying to break away from that. Cause you know, times are changing and all that shit. Years later, they still going back to their little spot. And here we have a young Tsubasa. He thinks the Yakuza is so cool and all that, but Kenji's like, don't waste your time doing what we do, you stay in school, read the books. And then after that, it's time to go handle business. Apparently somebody's causing a disturbance at the club scene, and of all people, gotta be this nigga Feihun, the guy that was beating his ass before he became part of the Yakuza clan. So now he's talking shit about him and his boss taking over the South. He's like, your boss ain't running these streets no more, times have changed. But he's willing to give him a good 20% if they back off. He's like, really? The disrespect being showed between Kenji and his boys, like, the fuck out of here. And you know, he already don't like his bitch ass. He ain't even pay up, and he was talking shit to him after he was leaving. Kenji ain't standing for that shit. Get your motherfucking ass out of here with that. So he gets back up, you know, he's gonna tell his boss like a little bitch. Afterwards, he sits down and gets a meal. He sits down and he's chilling with this girl named Yuka. She's among a couple girls that worked at this club. She noticed there were shards of glass in his hand and she picked the glass out. So he gave her some money and a bonus and he said he wants to see her later on soon. Then Kenji told Yuki to meet her at her house, at his house. So she goes by his house, which looks a lot better now. They sit down and talk for a minute. Then all of a sudden he just grabs her out the blue. And then she's like, why you force yourself on me? He's like, I didn't. It's crazy. Let's just say their relationship started off weird. Then he was ready to dip out. He was like, man, put your number on my phone. And that's what she did, and he left. Then Kenji gets scolded by Nakamura for beating the shit out of Feilong and shit. Then the two leaders and their associates get together for a meeting. Now, boss is looking for compensation for his partner's head getting smashed in. And Shigumi's like, man, if you don't get the fuck out of here with that. He said, oh, really? You gonna say that after what you did to Kimura like 8 years ago? And at that point, I'm like, who the fuck is Kimura? Now, Kimura used to be his boy, but we never see who he is. But apparently he was killed like 8 years ago. Trust me, Kimura becomes important later on. Meanwhile, Kenji picks up his girl Yuka from the club again, and he takes her to the ocean, and she's never been to the ocean before, so it's her first time. Kenji breaks down and talks about how he never had family, and she's like, she never had a family either. But that question only came about because she was insistent about asking him about why he even joined the Yakuza in the first place. Next day, he gets a call from the boys, and Kenji and the boss are riding out, who knows where they're going. And there's one of his other best friends who is now a driver. Then all of a sudden, bikers roll up on the whip, they start to spraying, car crashes straight to another car. Kenji gets out the car, get himself together, but what he sees, oh shit. His man's a done deal, dead. We all know what happens here. He ain't taking his shit lying down. Everybody, including his other best friend at the funeral. But because Kenji got hit in his shoulder, he's in the hospital. After a funeral, we had a meeting with Inspector G. And he tells him times are changing. If you take action, we gotta retaliate. Basically, he's telling Shigumi to stay out of it. how the fuck is he gonna give this news to Kenji? So he goes to the hospital, he tells Kenji, and from the look on his face, you know that shit ain't gonna stand. Just look at that face, you know he planning some shit. Look at the boss at Fei Long, get ready to party. Man making phone calls, you already know what time it is. There's Kenji, he's not in the hospital no more, you already know what time it is. Fei Long had the time of his life smashing some random chick in the back. Kenji gets a drop on him, he about to blame this nigga dead. But out of nowhere, Nakamura pushes him out of the way and stabs him full-fledged in his gut. Then Kenji tells Nakamura to get the fuck out of here, I'm taking the heat. And Kenji gets the blade and starts stabbing the shit out of Fei Long, just cooking his ass. Then he gets ghost. Then he makes it over to Yuka's house as vulnerable as he can possibly be at this point. And she takes care of him. Then he ends up giving her the business. But when she wakes up the next morning, Kenji's gone. He left a stack of money on the table, hopefully that she's using it for money or school or books, you know what I'm saying? Because she's in college. Kenji's back at the boss's office waiting to be scolded, but instead he hugs him. He says he's never been so proud in his life. And then here come the boys that take him away. And he basically took the rap for you, Nakamura. Yuka seeing her man Kenji on TV, and then he goes off to jail. 14 years later, Nakamura comes to the jail cell to pick up Kenji. He's a free man. But times have definitely changed. There's barely any Yakuza members left. The boss is still alive and kicking, but he found out 3 years ago that he has cancer. He tries calling Yuka, but obviously she ain't got that same number no more. Everybody else from the Yakuza either up and quit or got arrested. Police was cracking down on everything. The rival boss took over the territories, so he goes back to his favorite food spot and she's still there. He goes and finds one of his best friends there. Talks to him, finds out he's got 2 kids now. But it was so hard for him to get a job. Being a part of the Yakuza clan, they put this 5-year ban on him. Basically, it's hard for former Yakuza clan members to even get jobs. He's like, yeah, you're like a brother to me, but even being seen with you would fuck up any type of chance of getting applications. Meanwhile, we see somebody in the kickboxing tournament. Oh shit, is that Tsubasa? Yo. Then he gets a phone call from Kenji's friend telling him that he's at the spot. He comes back like, oh shit, Kenji, you're back. That nigga's tough, they coming straight out of that new joke. Turns out, Tsubasa been muscling niggas on his own, but he ain't part of the Yakuza clan. But he has been doing some quote-unquote grunt work for niggas. Now, the one thing he never wanted Tsubasa to do was be a Yakuza clan member, or do any of those type of activities. So as we're getting into the story, we find out Tsubasa's father is Kimura. So the story is his father got killed behind some gang shit. But all these years, Tsubasa never knew that was his father, who worked for Kenji's rival clan. That shit is crazy. Meanwhile, since there's no more members of the clan like that, it's gotten to the point where their money is low as hell. It's gotten to the point where they gotta sell drugs to keep their shit going. And we all know that's the one thing Kenji cannot stand is drugs selling, buying, none of that stuff. So Kenji and Nakamura first take their frustrations out of each other. Cause Kenji's like, come on man, you guys are selling drugs, and you got Tsubasa doing your dirty work after I've been trying to preach it for years on him to go to school and don't become like me. And Nakamura's like, man, what the fuck are we supposed to do? Police have been blocking every job we've been trying to get. You understand both plights. I mean, you understand Kenji's more, but... So Kenji gets a call from his people's next day. He finds out where Yugi is at and makes a surprise visit. Yugi sees her. She's like, what the fuck? After like 14 years. They get to catching up and she's like, hey, you still part of the Yakuza? He's like, I don't even know. Then she gave him back the money he gave her 14 years ago. She never used it. Then she was like, she don't never need to see him again. Then that got him out the car. I was like, it's something that you're not telling me. She's like, all right, fine. You gonna be able to support me and my daughter? Yeah, she's about 14 years old now. Think about it. Yep, that's your daughter. But she's scared to tell her daughter the truth because she don't want him to know that he was a Yakuza. And so she never told her. Then afterwards, Kenji goes visits his boss in the hospital who really doesn't have long. Turns out Nakamura is not only selling heroin, he's also taking his shit too. Then Kenji comes back to see Yuka again and tells her that he's done with the Yakuza. Meanwhile, Tsubasa goes sees the South boss and the conversation is tense as all fuck. And Kenji, Yuka, and his daughter, they all get to be a happy family for a little bit. Even though she still don't know that that's her dad. But when he drops her off at school, I think she kind of figured it out. Then he goes to the spot to eat with his best friend. And the guys he knows ends up taking a picture with them together. This is gonna come back to bite his best friend. Meanwhile, Tsubasa's having a one-on-one conversation with G. He tries to hit Tsubasa with a bunch of Yakuza nonsense, but then Tsubasa's like, yo, fuck out of here. I got you on tape. I'll blackmail your ass so fast. He's like, yeah, nigga, now what? Then Luca gets called in by a boss on the job. Apparently, the picture they took, the guy took it and put it on the internet and let it floating around. And because she's messing with Kenji, she's affiliated with him. And whoever has a job that is with a known criminal, they automatically have to let them go. He finds the kid and he's pissed the fuck off. And then G gets in Kenji face on some bullshit, basically rubbing salt in the wound. Tells him he's never gonna have a real life, you're always gonna be a criminal. Yuka ends up getting fired after 14 years. Then when Kenji gets in the house, Yuka spazzes the fuck out. He's like, I wish I never let you back in my life. I wish I never met you. Which at that point you can understand their frustrations. But damn, you gotta feel for the guy though, man. I mean, come on, this boss is dying of cancer. He can't get no work. Tsubasa's hanging around Yakuza members. Yuka wants nothing to do with him because of his daughter and all that. And he feels like everything's all his fault. So he goes back to his favorite spot and talks to Tsubasa. And Tsubasa tells him he found out who killed his father. I'm like, oh shit. The thing is, he never told Kenji, but I got that feeling he might have figured it out too. I got that feeling some shit about to jump off. Kenji speaks to his boss one more time before he dies. He tries calling Yuka again, which obviously don't want nothing to do with him. She's dipping out and never coming back. After his best friend loses his job, his wife and kids are gone. He's in an empty house. Uh-oh, niggas with the bats. Tsubasa ready to give somebody the business. You got the South boss and the police chief in there. But who's that coming with a motherfucking bat? Them niggas got fucked. Tsubasa's coming late, so you definitely know it wasn't him and his boys. Both them niggas got deaded. So who got to him? You know who got to him? It was Kenji. But how did Kenji know who killed Kimura, though? It's not like Tsubasa told him. Call it intuition, I guess. So after that, we see a scene where he's smoking by the pier. And then, holy shit, he gets stabbed in the stomach. But who the fuck stabbed him? Oh, snaps, it was his best friend. Because, you know, he probably felt like it was even more his fault for taking the picture. Being part of the Yakuza, everything, you know what I'm saying? Crazy thing is, Kenji's not even mad. He's just happy. He's like, you know what I'm saying? Because he knew this was coming and he had nothing left for him. He gave him a hug and told him he loved him right before he died. He apologized to him, and that's when he fell in the river. Done deal. Wow. So that's who was floating in the water at the beginning of the movie. And he kind of died with a smile on his face. That shit's crazy. Last thing we see is Tsubasa putting flowers at the site. And Luca's daughter shows up. And she asks Tsubasa what was her dad like. And he broke down crying for at least a couple minutes. He told her to come with her and he'd tell her all about him. All I can say is, wow. Now I don't know if it was a real story or not, but it damn sure feels like it. If you ever see a movie called The Outsider, I know that's a real story for facts. A Family on Netflix. Check it out, like, click, subscribe, do all that. You know what time it is. Like, easy, mister. Ow, big. Who the goddamn slogan?